The sea was not just water, it was a graveyard. Beneath its shifting waves, steel sharks lurked, painted with a flag of Nazi Germany. They were called U-boats, Unterseebooten, silent hunters that prowled the Atlantic, cutting the lifelines that connected nations. For the Allies, the Atlantic was their heartbeat, carrying food, weapons, and hope across from America to Britain. And if those arteries were severed, freedom itself would choke. Yet the story of how the Allies fought back is not only about machines and explosions. It is also about people, about courage, about those who bore the weight of being overlooked even while giving everything they had. Black men and women lived in that shadow. They loaded cargo on the docks, served in segregated naval units, and risked their lives on the same waters where U-boats prowled. Too often, their names never made it into the official books. But without their hands, their sweat, their will, those ships would never have sailed. When the first deadly waves of U-boat attacks tore through Allied convoys, panic spread like fire. Ships were being sunk in the dead of night, torpedoes splitting steel hulls wide open, flames painting the ocean red, sailors scrambling in terror. The Atlantic became a killing field. For the Allies, something had to change. They needed tools, weapons, strategies, something to turn the tide. The first tool was ancient in its idea, but devastating in its use. The depth charge. Imagine a steel drum packed with explosives, rolled over the side of a destroyer, sinking deep into blackness, timed to explode where a submarine might hide. The water itself became a weapon, pressure waves tearing through steel, smashing hulls, breaking crews apart in silence. But using it required bravery, for the hunters had to guess where their prey hid. Every time a depth charge thundered beneath the sea, the sailors above held their breath, praying it found its mark. And among those sailors were black men, mess stewards, oilers, gunners, confined by a navy that refused to see them as equals but demanded their labor just the same. They carried ammunition to the guns. They manned weapons in emergencies. They fought fires when torpedoes struck. They heard the explosions rumbling below, felt the ship tremble beneath their feet, and knew they were just as much a target as anyone else. Discrimination could not shield them from the ocean's fury. But the U-boats were clever. They adapted, they hid, they learned to slip past the patterns of the depth charges. The Allies needed something sharper. That's when the Hedgehog arrived, a strange name for a fearsome invention. Unlike the blunt crush of depth charges, the Hedgehog was precise, firing a spread of contact bombs ahead of the ship, raining down like a storm of steel. Each ball would explode only on impact, and when it did, it tore holes in the sea's darkness. Sailors cheered when they heard the impact. They knew they had struck flesh and iron, and another predator would rise no more. And yet, as these weapons grew more deadly, the human struggle behind them remained unseen. Black workers in American factories, barred from better jobs, forced to fight for fair wages, were building these very tools. It was the hands of black riveters, machinists, and welders that shaped the steel of destroyers and corvettes. Many worked double shifts, their sweat dripping into the very bolts that held the ships together. They fought two wars at once, one against Hitler abroad and another against injustice at home. The Atlantic War was not just fought with weapons. It was fought with knowledge. The Allies turned to radar and sonar, unseen eyes that pierced the fog of war. Radar scanned the skies, picking out the silhouettes of U-boats as they surfaced at night. Sonar reached below, bouncing sound to the depths, revealing the hidden shadows of submarines. With every ping that echoed back from the abyss, sailors felt hope. The ocean was no longer as blind as before. But for black sailors, even these victories carried irony. Many had to prove again and again that they could master technology, that they could serve beyond the kitchens and cleaning decks. Yet when battle came, discrimination crumbled. When a U-boat's torpedo struck and a ship began to burn, no man asked the color of the hand pulling him from the flames. In the chaos of survival, humanity was stripped bare, and courage spoke louder than prejudice. And still, the war raged. Convoys stretched across the ocean, carrying the lifeblood of nations, while U-boats stalked them like wolves. Every crossing was a gamble. Ships burned, men drowned, oil slicked across the waves. And in those moments of fire and water, the tools of war, the depth charges, the hedgehogs, the sonar, the radar, were not just weapons. They were fragile shields against annihilation. Yet behind every weapon, every machine, every strategy, stood human beings. Some celebrated, some forgotten, some denied their due. The fight against the U-boats was a fight against invisibility itself. A reminder that those who labor in silence, who bleed without recognition, are often the ones who keep freedom alive. This is where the story of tools becomes the story of people. For as steel clashed with steel beneath the waves, another battle was being fought in the hearts of men. One for dignity, for recognition, for justice. And though victory at sea would one day come, the deeper victory, the acknowledgement of shared humanity, was still waiting beyond the horizon. The ocean remembers. Every depth charge that thundered, every sonar ping that echoed, every ship that slipped beneath the waves carried with it the voices of those who fought, unseen but unbroken. And their story does not end here.